Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pokemon Cards with Terry. Tonight, I'm doing something a little bit different than what I usually do with the card reviews that I usually do on this channel. I'd like to send a shout out to Dax to the Max, since I know he's like my biggest fan. So let's get to it. So tonight, I'm talking about my experience with holding Pokemon battle events. Um, I work within the school system, and I was originally trying to have an event locally for the younger kids, like kids that are 15 and under, to have these battle events where they could come and play the Pokemon trading card game at an event, in a controlled environment, where they could learn how to play the game and make new friends and do all these different things. Um, my original dream was I wanted to have about 20 kids come to the event. I thought that'd be wonderful. You have 10 stations, you have 10 and then two that can play in each station. And I had did a whole bunch of stuff. Like I bought like battle decks, right? I bought some battle decks that there was some that I could supply so that if the kids didn't necessarily have their own deck, they could borrow one off of me and then they could still play. Um, I also ended up getting a whole bunch of the battle mats, so that they could have it all laid out with all the rules on the mat so that would remind them. So I was trying to set this up in a way that would make the event easier for the kids, less of a barrier to entry um, for the kids that wanted to play. So then I had put out posters and I had set up everything to have an event in our town. And initially, what kind of happened was the weather was poor. That weekend, it was in the winter. Um, the weather was poor, so not a whole lot of kids made it out to the battle event. I think we had in the end, I think we had four local kids that showed up and played, which was good. Like it was good for them because they got a lot of experience in that one day to actually get to play. So the event lasted maybe 3 hours, 2, 3 hours, where they just kind of played with whatever kids were there, and they just kind of cycled through, and they all had a good time. Um, so the first event, kind of feel like it was a little bit of a flop, but at the same time, it wasn't overwhelming either, right? And some of these kids, couldn't necessarily read. Like there was other issues too that kind of popped up that I started noticing um, as part of that event. Um, so then I kind of sat on it for a while. I kind of after that event, I was kind of like, okay, maybe it's not meant to be, whatever. So I just kind of sat on all the stuff. Like I had bought all these decks, and I had bought all this equipment for having these events, and I just kind of sat on it for a bit, and I said, okay, maybe down the line something will happen, and we can maybe make this viable again. So I was talking to I actually worked between multiple schools. There was actually three schools that I was working in. There's the one that was local, and then the one in the next town, two in the next town over. Um, so I went over there, and I was talking with the principal one day, and I said, hey, yeah, it was really too bad that that Pokemon thing didn't work out. And she kind of agreed. And she said, the weather was terrible and um, location was bad, right? It was in my town, not the town where there was lots of kids that wanted to play, in the next town over. So it was kind of one of those things where it just kind of that's just the way it happened. But so she was very understanding, and she's like, you know what? If you wanted to hold one here, we'll give you the school as a venue for so that the kids in our town can play. And I said that sounds like a really nice idea. I said that might be worth a try. Um, so then we put the way I didn't do a poster this time. I did waivers, waiver forms for uh, for the kids so that they could sign, put their name, put their parents' phone number if we need to contact them if the event gets done sooner or whatever. So we did all that, sent out the waivers, and the next date came. and I, took some time off from work um, in my hometown school and went over to the other school to help them facilitate, a small battle event there. So we had about 14 kids this time. Instead of the four that we had last time, we had 14, which was a much better showing. But the things that kind of like the problems that sort of arised was that I don't think the parents um, read the sheet that I sent, because the sheet had said if your kid is too young, has trouble reading, a parent should be there to read for them, because Pokemon, like the card game, there's a lot of reading, right? There's your abilities, there's all your different things that are on the card, and if you can't read, it does not go very well. So what happened is one parent showed up, because she had actually read the sheet and had understood that, yeah, her younger kid would have a lot of trouble if he couldn't read. So she was there and she was kind of helping with the one. She did one whole match with her kid and this other kid that was there. She did the whole match with them. I think it was like an hour. It took an hour to play a match because it was very slow, right? Because she had to read and then read the other kid and kind of go back and forth. And that was the big thing. Like they always say, be careful what you wish for. And having if my first event was as big as I wanted it to be, I don't think I would have been able to handle it, because there would have been too many kids that couldn't read, and it'd be very hard to teach. If there was 20 kids or whatever, it'd be very hard to teach them how to play the game all at the same time. So that's what I discovered from the second event, was that um, yeah, if you have a whole bunch of kids that can't read, it doesn't go very good. And in the end, the kids really loved it and they had a good time and everything. But um, after that, I just kind of decided, okay, I think I'm just going to pack it in, trying to do these events. Um, you know, I do have all the stuff. I guess I could in the future try to hold another event, or maybe do something a little bit smaller in scope. I thought of doing, something where it's like, just two kids come, and then you can just focus on them and really, really teach them. And then once the base is set, once they know how to play, then you get another two kids, teach them, and then get them to play. And then once you have some kids that are more familiar with it, then maybe it would go a little bit smoother because they already know how to play. And uh, really send a note home saying, yes, you need to help your kids if they can't read, right? Not accept children that can't read when it's a game that's the main requirement, is that they're able to read. And doing basic math helps too, right? Especially, it's a lot of counting by tens. But um, so yeah, that's all I really learned from holding the events. I know in the city they hold some pretty big events and stuff too, but I think it's mostly like teenagers, older kids. I don't think the big events that I've seen in the city really cater too much to the little kids. But I think it's important to, especially because these children are really into the whole Pokemon thing, right? Like a lot of these kids are really, really, really into it, and they have no avenue to pursue it, right? Their parents are busy or whatever, so they don't get to learn to play the game. A lot of them just get into the trading card side of it because that's the side they understand the easiest, right? It's just like you take one card, you trade it for another, and you go back and forth and trade cards, right? So to actually learn the card game, it does take some doing, and it does take some concentration, and it does take something from your parents or from an adult or someone that's versed in the game to really get you into it. So yeah, so that's my video about that. Something a little bit different tonight. I haven't posted a video in quite a long time. I kind of feel bad for the people that do like to watch these videos, but I'm looking forward to hopefully doing some new videos. I have a Greedent V and a Greedent V Max that are coming up in the next video I do. They've been sitting around for a little while here, but I'm hoping to get them done and get another video out. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.